Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Hover.com. Go to gfu.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. FreshBooks. FreshBooks is an easy-to-use online invoicing service that saves you time, gets you paid faster, and makes you look professional. Get started completely for free at freshbooks.com. And by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook by going to audiblepodcast.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Another week has ended, and it's time for Tech News Weekly. I have nothing else to say at this point. I'm not going to say anything. I'm really upset. I matched my wall.
So we're going to have a show here with just nobody talking.
It's just somebody in chat before said, why don't you just put like a Fifth Avenue sign on your forehead and you'll just blend into the poster. I went tanning for the people listening that cannot see the show, and I'm the same color as my wall. I should have never gotten an earth tone paint job on my wall. But I'm Andrew Zarian, joined by the Laughing Suncast. How you doing, Suncast? The Laughing Hyena. Yeah, that would be your street name, actually. The Laughing Hyena. You know, some people love your laugh, and some people absolutely despise it. It's about 50-50 at this point.
Really?
Yeah, 50-50. Some people hate it when you laugh, and some people love it when you laugh. So we're kind of stuck in the middle here.
Oh.
Stuck in the middle.
What can you do, though? I can't change it. Deal with it, people.
Very well said. This is a show where we wrap up pretty much everything that happened in technology for the week. The big stories, we try to fit it in a hour format. Sometimes we go over. Sometimes they're a little shorter if it's a slow week. This week, very interesting, and I want to go right into it. And if you ever doubted social networking and thought that it was a waste of technology and it's just people just going on and tweeting and Facebooking about what they had in the morning, you were proven wrong once again.
This is becoming nobody cares about.
Exactly, but you know what? It's totally changing, and the Twitter delivery of the news that Osama bin Laden was killed showed how important social networking is at this point. You know, if you think about it, wasn't Michael Jackson the first big break for social networking?
It was probably one of the first.
It kind of trivial.
One of the biggest.
Yeah. It was Michael Jackson. Then a tsunami, you know, was huge to get information out. Iran, the revolution in Iran last summer, the revolution in Egypt. Facebook played a huge part in. So we're realizing that this is a way that news and information is being given out to the masses. You know, we become and some people don't like it, it's a globalized world where we're connected to what's happening at the other side of the world. Facebook was one of the first sources for many, many people to find out that Osama bin Laden has been killed by the Navy SEALs. 13% heard it on Twitter, 14% on Facebook, 17% on websites, on news websites, 31% on television, 6% on radio, and 20% word of mouth. This poll was taken, I believe it was 6,000 people.
Just about
6,000 people.
At the time that I grabbed this poll.
But the internet has a stronger, I guess, number if you add up Twitter, Facebook, and news websites than television and radio. I mean, this is a huge shift.
If you actually look at the stats, break it down between Twitter, Facebook, news website, and kind of maybe word of mouth. You've got three markets here. You have Twitter, Facebook, and news websites. You combine all those, that's what? About 45%-ish.
Yeah.
We're saying, then you combine television and radio, which is more like traditional media, you get maybe 37. So you're getting more information from the internet, definitely for sure, than you are from traditional outlets like TV and radio.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strong pull towards the other side. You know what? We knew it was going to change, but I never thought, and when Twitter came out, I never expected it to become a news source of any sort. I don't think anybody did. I think
No.
the concept was out there, but most of the time it was just self-promotion,
Well, and still,
self-marketing.
people still, it's like there's a lot of people, especially older people, that don't necessarily understand Twitter and what it's useful for. This is something that it's useful for. A lot of times, yes, people do just post crap that nobody really cares about except themselves. But in this case, you can see the power that social networking sites like Twitter and Facebook actually have in communicating important information, albeit it's not always trustworthy. You don't know if it's true or not because it's not necessarily a trusted source.
No, it's not a trusted source. That's the thing. But I've noticed that I am, when there's some breaking news, and I think one of the first times that I really started using Twitter was last winter when we got a snowstorm. I was really checking to see if the schools were going to close and what was going to happen because of the snowstorm, what the city was doing. And I was on Twitter constantly, and I was checking the feed. And in New York City, the mayor's office was tweeting about it and saying, we're going to release it at 5 o'clock. And then 5 o'clock came, and they sent a tweet out saying schools are closed. And it was so interesting to see how it spread. And before it was on, Fox 5 News here in New York or ABC News, it was on Twitter. The mayor's office had released the information.
Is what it is.
And it's amazing. And think about how much information is being delivered when something like this happens. The guy in Pakistan lived right by Osama bin Laden, his compound, and he had no idea, and he was tweeting the raid.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, there was actually somebody that actually live tweeted the raid that killed bin Laden. It was so funny because you can see the guy's timeline saying, "Oh, there's helicopters. What are there? It's weird that there's helicopters. I don't know what they're doing. There's a bunch of them. Oh, and now I hear a bunch of gunshots and everything." And he's just like, "What the crap is going on?" Find out, like a few hours later, well, that was bin Laden getting killed.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
The whole thing captured live on Twitter.
And nobody knew. The guy had no idea. You know what? I wonder if he had any idea about what was going on. Would he have tweeted?
I think so.
You think so? He might have been a little bit more reserved.
The guy that did this is a little bizarre, too, though, because he kind of escaped Pakistan, because he wanted to be more by himself and not near a major population.
Oh, okay.
So this guy's a little weird to begin with.
Okay. All right. So maybe
he's not influenced by a lot of things. He does whatever it is that he wants to do, and he's not influenced or pressured by peers to do anything.
Yeah. ADS in our chat room said the guy had moved to Pakistan for peace and quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy's losing his mind while this thing is happening. But this was huge. I mean, the internet kind of broke the story. I was really glued to this. I got really involved. I made a joke out of it yesterday, but it was, being a New Yorker, I'm deeply affected by 9/11, the events of 9/11, and I was really into this. And the way I found out, and this all ties in, I haven't watched, and remember last week I was saying I'm not going to watch TV?
Yeah.
I'm going to cut TV out, and I'm going to exclusively use Hulu and Netflix and whatever internet service, other services for my media and for my news consumption rather than using traditional cable television to see if I could do it, see if I could cut it out. And I was watching Hulu. I was watching The Office on Hulu, and my text messages started coming in. And my emails, on not the emails, but like instant messages on Facebook and messages on Twitter just started coming in. At the same time, I believe you were tweeting.
Yeah.
Under GFQ, because you tweet a lot for GFQ. And
we both ended up doing it.
Doing it at the same time.
Funny because it was that significant.
We were both tweeting at the same time, and I'm thinking, what is going on? So I'm thinking, well, maybe the feed went down, and this is how self-centered I am. I'm thinking it's something for me. Nothing else could be happening in the world. It's all about
You're
me.
So arrogant.
So Jessica gets a text message. She goes, Andrew, you should put on the news. I'm like, I promise, I'm not watching TV. She goes, they're saying something about national security. So immediately I think that, the bridges are in danger, the railways are in danger.
They call this press conference or whatever you want to call it so last minute on a Sunday night at 10:30.
So it's important. It has to be big.
It's weird because this is something that doesn't happen very often, that the president is going to make a primetime announcement at 10:30 at night on a Sunday.
Yeah. On a Sunday, and with all, all things considered. So I put on CNN, and CNN was saying it's a national security thing. What could it be? It could possibly be about Libya, which I don't think the president's going to do anything at 10 o'clock for Libya. They'll wait till the next day. And on Twitter, they started saying Osama bin Laden, and that got me thinking. And that pretty much planted the seed before anybody had reported what was going on. It was people just talking about it.
People that were privy to that information that actually sent out tweets saying we got bin Laden, and that's kind of how it all.
Oh, is that how it came out? That's fascinating. So this is amazing how Twitter and Facebook are extremely important.
They're almost vital these days to be able
absolutely
to have access to Facebook and Twitter, just because of the mass communication that you can get, the real-time information and mass communication that you get from Facebook and Twitter.
Well, it's like that, you look at CNN.
Any other way.
You look at CNN, and I've kind of mocked it in the past how CNN constantly talks about Twitter, but it is extremely important.
Yeah.
It's extremely important how, MSNBC and Fox News and CNN, they're always scrolling Twitter tags, and every show does Twitter. This is an important connection with people rather than there being, a wall up.
On when, sorry about that.
No,
something big is going on when you have every one of your followers tweeting every 2 minutes about stuff. Like, I was getting bombarded with tweets, and it's like, okay, well, something major is definitely going on here.
Yeah, I mean, it was extremely fascinating. It was, and I don't want to trivialize it. I can't say that word today. I don't know why. To kind of make it, say it's about Twitter, but it kind of was. Twitter really was able to distribute this information to many people, and a lot of people that were not watching the news. They weren't on TV. Some people might have been sleeping, and they woken up because of tweets and Facebook messages on their phone and text messages. So the state of communication is really booming at this point. And I always say, I wonder what 9/11 would have been like if there was Twitter and Facebook at that point.
That would have been crazy.
You also have to remember a lot of the communication was cut off between people in the building and people outside of the building. There weren't too many text messages being sent in 2001 like there are now. It would have been a different world, and it would have been not interesting, but it would have been very different.
You would have had some interesting accounts of the situation.
I think many people's lives could have been saved. Based on people speaking to them from the outside. So we are a society that's extremely connected now. Rather than when there's a disaster happening, you're not alone. You're connected, and we saw that with Japan, and we're seeing that. We saw that last summer and with the revolution in Iran, and now we're seeing it with the capture and killing of the number one terrorist in the world, Osama bin Laden. So.
Could you imagine a world without Twitter now?
No, I can't. And for a long time, I'm not crazy on Twitter. I don't go on and tweet about myself. I really don't have anything that interesting to say for Twitter. If I have to say something, I'll say it on Facebook. A lot of times it's a private inside joke amongst me and my friends. I have about 700 people on there, and I don't know all of them, but a lot of them I do know. And a lot of them do get my references or something about my private life. I don't feel that Twitter fills that need for me. I do tweet about the network as a promotion tool, but I do also see how viable it is in media distribution.
Right.
I want to continue with this discussion because it's very interesting, but before we do, I have to take a little break and talk about hover.com. Domain names made simple, and I've been preaching this for a long, long time, and I've been saying it. There's no other domain register service that does a better job than Hover. They don't give you constant upsell. They don't bombard you with email blasts telling you to sign up with this and sign up with that. It's a very clean layout. It's a simple layout, and they want you to get a domain name. They don't want you to, feel scared. They're not using fear-mongering tactics to try to get you to get private registration, which they include for free. Those other guys charge you $11.99 for private registration. They charge you $20 for business registration, and then they charge you another $6.99 to become a certified domain. A certified domain, which means absolutely nothing in the real world. Nobody looks for a certified domain. With Hover, you go in, it says what domain do you want, you buy the domain, you check out, you put the promo code GFQ at checkout, you get 10% off, or you go to gfq.hover.com. You could also transfer domains. So if you're unhappy with those those other guys that kill and shoot elephants in Africa, you could transfer it over absolutely free. They'll take care of everything free if you call their 800 number. They're not going to charge you to transfer the domain. All they're going to do is charge you for that 1 year of service, and it's $10 for that 1 year of service. So you're saving a ton of money there also. Plus, you could use a promo code. Go to gfq.hover.com. Get started. Domain names made simple. Hover. Let's go into the Skype rumors that are coming out, Suncast.
Okay.
You want to pick this up?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because we're starting to hear some rumors that maybe Facebook or Google is possibly looking into buy Skype, or maybe they're looking to kind of team up, both Facebook and Google, to do some sort of joint partnership to buy Skype. But I don't know what they would do with this. And this is all just a rumor that a source close to Facebook recently told somebody from Reuters that a CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, is thinking about buying Skype outright. So this is a little weird in the sense that it's a rumor, and I'm not sure if any of this really makes sense or if it's really viable. What do you think?
So both Google and the other guys and Facebook want it, right?
Yeah, there's a couple different rumors going on here. The first rumor is that Facebook is looking to possibly buy it.
Yeah.
But then they're also looking that maybe Google is looking to buy it.
Well,
then
Google,
maybe Facebook and Google are looking to join up together to buy Skype in some way.
I understand that Skype is a very important asset to have, considering what's the price? $4 billion right now for Skype?
3 to 4 billion.
3 to 4 billion for Skype. They don't really have a huge business plan other than charging, and most people, it's a free service. I mean, you don't need to get a phone number from them, but they have one mean of income. Google already has Gizmo 5 that they put a lot of effort into it. They bought Gizmo 5.
Is a SIP service that they acquired, and I guess they were going to hopefully do something with it with Google Voice.
Well, they bought that, and then they bought Grand Central. Grand Central became Google Voice.
They bought Grand Central first and turned that into Google Voice, and then they decided to get Gizmo 5, which works pretty well with Google Voice for your computer, but they really haven't done anything with Gizmo 5.
Yeah, and I'm quite disappointed because Gizmo 5 was, becoming a competitor at that point. They were really starting to compete with Skype. It was the early stages of it. But they were able to compete in some sense, and Google bought them, and they shut it down. And they I guess they're turning it into Google Talk, but it never really fully became that.
It's been almost over a year now, I think. Or maybe even 2 years. I'm not even quite sure. But it's been a long time, and they really haven't done anything with this. There's two different aspects of this. There's the Facebook angle, Facebook with Google angle, and then there's the Google itself angle. And Google itself has Google Voice, which is really interesting because at one point it's more like Google Voice is almost kind of a competitor to Skype. So
I mean, we do forget that. Let's not forget that Skype was originally created, and this is interesting, by the people who created Kazaa. Mm-hmm. Okay, and listen,
because it's a peer-to-peer network. Basically.
It's a very interesting story. When Kazaa was in its prime, the company created Skype in 2003, and Skype was kind of bundled in. And I remember seeing it, and I was kind of afraid to go near Skype because it had that connection with this, peer-to-peer pirating software company. So they kind of separated from that. eBay bought them, and then eBay sold it back to them. eBay only bought the name. They didn't buy the technology.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they owned the rights to it, but they didn't own the technology, so they really couldn't do much as far as developing it, as far as the software.
They didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, that was a stupid buy, first of all. I mean, the asset is in the software, right? The asset is in... I mean, the name, yes, the name has something, but if you can't control the software and you can't do anything else with it, you're out of luck there.
Pretty much, yeah.
So now Facebook they do have this partnership with Facebook, and we saw it with the last release of Skype.
Facebook has been wanting to have some sort of voice chat for a while now with their website, and this would be one of the ways they could possibly get something like that.
Yeah, they would get it from that.
We've seen a couple of different companies come up and have some sort of integrated voice options with that. Most recently with T-Mobile launching what was it called? They launched something. I
Where
forget what
Google
it was
Voice.
called.
Oh, T-Mobile.
Yeah, Mobile did something recently. They launched it on Facebook, but then they pulled it back because there was some sort of issue with it. So
I
now,
do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
which is really weird. I mean, it does make sense, I think, for Facebook to buy Skype. But
Yeah,
what
but
would-
is this good for you and I? Because think about it. If
Yeah.
Facebook buys them, and Facebook at this point could say, you know what, we're going to make it a Facebook chat, and we're only
That's
going
what
to
I'm
use it for
worried
that.
about is what are they going to do with it? Are they going to just turn it into crap? And
Well,
that's one of the things
we saw
where
what happened with
companies
Gizmo
get
5,
bought
right?
out.
I'll give you an example, and this is a perfect example. Gizmo 5 had a very nice, subscription number, and people enjoyed Gizmo 5, and they used Gizmo 5. Google comes, buys them out, shuts it down.
Yep.
Could you see this happening with Skype?
No, not really, because Skype is just so much larger that you would have such a revolt on your hands if Skype ever completely shut down.
But do you think they want Google wants to get into the business of peer-to-peer phone calls on the internet? I mean, I understand they're going to use it for their software, but is it worth $4 billion for Facebook to purchase? That's the question.
What I don't understand is the Google and Facebook joining forces and doing some sort of venture to buy Skype. That's the part that I don't understand. I can understand Google or Facebook doing this, but not both companies. I don't see why they would team up to form some sort of venture to buy Skype.
I'll tell you, because Google wants it because it might be the codecs that Skype uses are phenomenal for audio.
Oh, yeah, by far.
Nobody's able to
let me say
really
this.
do it.
I wish that telephones sounded as good as Skype does.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. If we could have our telephones and everything sound as good as Skype does, that would be revolutionary. Like, I don't understand why we don't have that technology out there. I mean, we can do it so easily with Skype.
Bandwidth.
Why can't we do this with telephones?
Bandwidth. I mean, it's happening. I had VoIP for a long time, and my VoIP phone calls sounded amazing. I had Speakeasy VoIP, and it was a business line dedicated. The phone calls were so clear. People would, when I would speak to them, they would say, it's really strange talking to you because there's no static. There's nothing. It's so clear. And that was a VoIP technology, and that was Speakeasy's technology that they ran through COVID. It's the codecs that they use, and the amount of bandwidth that they put towards it. Skype really controls this. Nobody's really able to come close to Skype's quality at this point. And they're free. I mean, that's the amazing part. I can see how Google wants this to continue their Google Voice. They might have, who knows what's happening in Gizmo 5's technology, but why not control both? And Facebook wants this for some sort of Facebook.
This is all really interesting, though, because Google. I read a story recently, I think a month or two ago, where somebody explained why Google passed on buying Skype, because they were initially looking into buying Skype, and they were all set to do that. But then one of the product managers set up a presentation and basically changed Sergey Brin's decision to buy Skype and said, "All right, we don't need Skype anymore. We have Google Voice. Why do we need Skype?"
Yeah, and they passed on it.
Yeah. But at the same time, Google Voice still has its shortfalls. It does not have a desktop application.
Yeah, it doesn't. No,
you can integrate it with Gmail and all that stuff, but you don't necessarily have an application like Skype does for communicating with people. And that's one of the shortfalls, I think, of Google Voice, is that you don't have a direct desktop application that has your contacts and a way to communicate from your computer or whatever it is, whatever device that you have. Now, Google has been working on some stuff, but it's all, why haven't they done more with it? Like, they could do so much more with Google Voice. Is that the reason why they're now considering Skype again? Because they want the assets that Skype brings?
Well, how many millions of subscribers, first of all, will be going around, right? You're talking about millions and millions of people.
Yeah, but I still just find it really bizarre that they passed on Skype, but now they're going to consider it again.
I'm looking here. Why
are they doing a 180?
So we're talking, the last number that I have here is fourth quarter 2009, right? This is what I have in front of me. I don't have current numbers. But they had 665 million user accounts. active
That's a lot of people,
users,
you know?
active daily users is 42 million. Skype to Skype minutes, 27.7 billion. Skype out minutes, 33.1 billion. And revenue US, they had $185 million in revenue.
I always worry when a company gets bought out, what's going to happen to that company? Because if you actually rely on that service, a good case of this is Delicious. You know that they've been having problems with funding. Yahoo wanted to get rid of them. Nobody wants Delicious, but now maybe somebody does want Delicious, which is a bookmarking site if you don't know what it is.
I believe they did sell.
People that do want and rely on that service, what do they do? And it's the same thing with any company that you like. And it's the same thing, well, like this AT&T and T-Mobile deal that's starting to go through.
Well, the problem is, but here's the thing. With T-Mobile, there's a business structure, right? By the way, T-Mobile showed the largest loss in subscribers recently. I believe they released it a couple days ago. But when you're looking at these companies, these online companies, there's no revenue. Delicious has no revenue model. There's no way for they don't have a model to make money. There's no subscription. There's
Skype
nothing
does.
like that. Skype does, but ultimately it's a free service, right?
Well, what about Google Voice? Because Google Voice doesn't necessarily have
No.
a
No.
big structure there. Yeah, they have.
But Google's the
like,
anomaly
international
here.
pricing, but that's not something that's gonna, I think, draw a huge profit for them.
Yeah, I mean, Google Voice is the anomaly. Google's the anomaly because they've been able to create a business based on one thing, and that's ad revenue, right? They don't have a subscription
like
service.
I said before, I don't quite understand why this would be a deal, why Google is looking at them. I think it makes more sense for Facebook to be looking to buy Skype or some sort of service like Skype than it would Google, because Google already has Google Voice. While it's not perfect, the fact that they passed on it once before just makes it all the more strange that they would consider possibly buying Facebook again.
I don't think
or,
either one of them is
Skype.
going to end up purchasing. I don't think either one of them is going to buy it.
I don't think so either.
I
I
don't
think
think
it's
it's
kind
gonna
of a long shot, and I don't really see much of a point in doing something like this.
Yeah, no, there isn't.
It just seems all really strange.
Well, Google has done some strange stuff. You have to look at, G Drive was killed. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Google was talking about an online storage website, and they killed that.
There's a book that's called Indeplex by Stephen Levy,
Yeah.
which is where I was getting some of my information from regarding what happened with the previous Google Skype deal. And it's very interesting because he talks about what happened with that Google Skype deal and what happened with G Drive and why G Drive died. They basically just said, well, we don't really need this technology, so we're just not going to do it.
They killed it for Docs, right?
For
Google
the fact
Docs.
that one of the reasons was that they had Microsoft Office, and Office it's just such a big competitor against any kind of Office document out there.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to really compete with Microsoft Office. I want to take a little break again. I want to talk about our sponsor, new sponsor of the network, and that's FreshBooks. If you're a freelancer or running a small business, much like me, the last thing you want to do is invoicing. Everybody knows how much I hate it. I constantly talk about it. I absolutely hate invoicing. I told a story about when I had my previous business. We did a huge order. It was a party supply business. So we set up a huge party, decor, balloons, whatever it was, for the fire department of that town. And we gave them a great break, and I never invoiced the bill. And it was about a couple $100 in. I've still yet to get paid because I invoiced them way too late. I invoiced them about a year and a half later, so it's practically never invoicing because nobody's going to pay you after a year and a half. And I've never gotten paid for it. I never got a dime for it. So that money's gone. But if I had FreshBooks at that point, I wouldn't have had this problem. The interface is so easy to use. You go in, you sign up absolutely for free. You sign up, and it gives you 3 clients to start off for free, and then you could always upgrade. You put in your 3 clients, you upload your image, your company image, and you just fill in the blanks. After that, it auto sends. You could set up to auto send every month. You could send it every week, every whatever it is. You tell it the time, and it does it for you. And if you put in promo code GFQ, guess what you get, Suncast? It's not a promo code, but if you put in, it's going to ask you, how did you hear about us? If you put in GFQ, what do you think you get?
Free money for life.
Better than that. A birthday cake.
Nice.
Even if it's not your birthday. There's nothing better than that in life.
Well, you've got one coming up.
I do have my birthday coming up next Friday, actually. So maybe they'll send me a
win.
birthday cake. Maybe they'll send me a birthday cake. Honestly, it's the easiest way to do invoicing. And I know many of our viewers do tech support on the side. They do computer repair on the side. They do IT work on the side. They're freelance workers. They work for themselves,
Right.
and they don't really work for a company. They do it on the side. When you have to send these invoices, it's absolutely horrible to try to get your money back from these people. So if you send them the invoice with FreshBooks, they could even pay right there. They give you 11 different options of payment. If you send it with that and you opt in for that. Go to freshbooks.com, painless billing, the easiest way to get your money, in my opinion. I sent out 2 payments, one to FreshBooks and one to Hover, my other sponsor, and it shows, the total, how much money is owed to you. And when one sends you the money, so it deducts it from that, so the money's been sent, they paid it, and the best part is they can never lie and say, hey, listen, I never got the invoice. It's because it emails it to them. And when they open the invoice and they see how much you owe them, it actually gives you an update and says, hey, so-and-so FreshBooks opened up the invoice. So they've read it.
Nice.
So they can't pull that, we never saw it. It's a great service. I absolutely love them. FreshBooks, I'm glad they're part of the network. Let's go into this LastPass security breach. Which is, it's interesting because they're a password management service and they have a security breach of passwords.
Another security breach
I
for
know.
another company.
I wonder why it's becoming such a trend. I mean, I know these things happen every day, every week. There are these security breaches, but these are major companies.
It's more and more now. We're seeing a major breach week after week now.
And for major
weird.
companies, companies. So you want to go into this one? This is fascinating. I don't use LastPass. I know a lot of people that do. I personally don't use it because I kind of like to not give my password to everybody.
I actually, this is one of the reasons why I don't use something like LastPass, because it's basically storing your passwords and everything on a server on the cloud, which I like the idea of LastPass and its password management, but at the same time, I'm so wary about having this kind of stuff out there on the cloud because attacks like this are becoming more frequent. Basically, the CEO came out and said that, oh, well, there's some network traffic anomalies on a non-critical server.
By the way, before you continue, I consider LastPass handling this situation a lot better than what Sony did.
Yeah.
Much, I mean, a total difference in the way they handle this.
Well, they know what boat that they were in, and if they were to bury something like this, they would be so screwed.
Yeah.
So basically, the CEO basically sounded the alarm that maybe something happened. They didn't know for sure or not, but they wanted to warn people and just suggest and start having people change their passwords and everything, just in case something did happen. They're still not sure exactly what happened yet. They think that maybe some weaker passwords were taken. There was some sort of network intrusion, and maybe some of those weaker passwords were broken into.
Yeah, they even said that they might have not even had a breach, but somebody was attempting to get in. So that could have even been it. But this is becoming a scary thing because who's next now? Who's next?
Exactly, and it's like I said, this is happening. There's a major one week after week now.
Yeah.
Last week it was Sony. The week before, the couple of weeks before that, it was the Ep30 data breach with all the emails that were taken with major companies like Target and Best Buy.
You know what the scary part is? Let's say, you don't have a important password at Target. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Target's not an important thing, right? Yes, to an extent, it's... Well, this is interesting. Data1.cab was added to your Dropbox folder. What does that mean?
I don't know.
That's not good. Did Dropbox have a breach?
I don't know where you're reading this.
Why is something being uploaded to my Dropbox folder while we're doing this story? I just got an alert on my computer.
You're so ADD.
No. I just got a pop-up. It said data1.cab has been added to your Dropbox folder.
I couldn't tell you.
What is that? What does that mean?
Data1.cab is usually a compressed archive.
No, so maybe they did it. I don't know. I'm deleting it. I don't know. This is see, I'm paranoid
now. You just deleted
now.
Windows.
I just deleted all. No, I'm on a Mac. But I'm a little paranoid now.
You're always paranoid. What's different? Come on. Seriously, what's different?
Well, this is interesting because it was added to. Well, maybe it's Tom because it was added to the Tom folder.
But why would he do that?
I don't know.
That's just weird.
It just now, 5:40. That's weird. I am, I'm a little paranoid when it comes to this stuff. So maybe it is him uploading. Who knows? But when you think about, you have a Target account. Okay, fine. Yeah, it got hacked. How? So what? But you might have the same password for your bank. And now they have your email and they have your password.
It's a starting point.
It's a starting point, and they could get access to anything. As long as one password matches another one, it's like dominoes. It just goes down all of it.
It's just another reason why you shouldn't have weak passwords to begin with.
Well, what would you consider a weak password? Like a name and a number? Or just a name?
Anything that you can pick out of the dictionary, basically.
Yeah, none of my passwords are like that. You know some of my passwords.
Yeah.
It's extreme. It's crazy, right?
Some of them are funny, though.
Some of them are funny, but those are the less important ones. But the important ones are pretty difficult to access. Most people would never be able to figure it out. But I know when I met Jessica, all of her passwords were password. Password 1.
That is the worst password ever.
And I'm like, what is the matter with you? I'm like, you can't remember anything else?
That's just asking to be hacked,
It's like, I really don't care. Let them hack it. I'm like, no, but you don't understand. They get other information from this. So I had to change everything of hers. In the post PSN hack situation, I think they handled this very well, considering Sony is still not online and they haven't fixed their problem.
It's a big contrast compared to the data intrusion that Sony experienced. They handle it in two completely opposite ways. Where LastPass said, well, this might not be anything serious, but it raised enough red flags for us to actually come out and say something about it. And we're going to say something about it now while we figure out what's actually going on, which is what my point was last week with Sony, because it's like, why did you waste so many days to tell people that, well, some data might have been taken, but we're not sure yet? Why did you have to wait 3 days to do your forensic testings? Why couldn't you just come out and say something?
Yeah, they mishandled it.
It would have looked bad, but at the same time, it's that transparency level that customers expect. If something's going bad that they need to know about, you need to tell them, regardless of if it's going to make you look bad or not.
Yeah. Let's go into this RIM story. This is fascinating. RIM updated their BlackBerry OS. It was supposed to be 6.1.
They've done this several times in the past, so I'm not really surprised.
And now let's just pick a random number. No more .1s, and let's try to catch up to everybody else. We're at version 7. It's going to be called
a joke.
BlackBerry 7.
You know what? I honestly put this story on kind of as a joke.
Okay.
Because...
Well, I know you've been really hard on BlackBerry, and you're not satisfied with where they are, and I understand, but they're making this a major release when it wasn't intended to be, and their point is, well, it became a big release.
This is all marketing.
Okay. So go into this. So you think this is just a big marketing ploy?
Basically, they're announcing that, we're going to have BlackBerry OS 7. It's going to have some of these changes, but really it's going to be more of the same.
Let's see what they
kind
have.
of pisses me off.
Voice-activated search abilities for both content on your phone and on the web. Browser.
Wait, let me ask you. How long have you been able to do that on Android?
It's from day one.
Exactly.
From the time that I've had an Android, I guess 2.0. I don't really remember past that. So I've had since I've had Android, I could do voice search. Significantly enhanced browsing. We hear this every time.
Yep.
A new feature like the JIT, just-in-time JavaScript. What is that? I'm not familiar with that.
That's the way JavaScript gets handled. One of the ways
On
it gets
BlackBerry?
handled.
One thing, there's absolutely no legacy support, so older devices are not going to be getting.
That's one of the things I find interesting
7.
is that there's no legacy support.
Yeah, I think this might be their way of kind of saying, hey, listen, this is what it's going to be like when we go to QNX.
QNX.
Yeah, this is what they're going to do, right?
That's basically what they're going to have to do because the two aren't going to be compatible at all. I do think it's a little weird that there's no legacy support because let's look at this. This is RIM, and what's RIM's bread and butter is enterprise. What does enterprise need more than any other industry in the world?
Support.
Backwards compatible support, which they're not going to get with BlackBerry OS 7. So it'll be interesting. It's going to be costly for all of them to move to new handsets that have BlackBerry OS 7 on them if that's what they want to support. It's almost, I find it really weird that they're going to do this. I mean, this is the big shocker in this article is that there's no legacy support, that they're not going to develop this operating system to support older generations of devices.
Any reason why you think they did that?
I have no clue.
Other than trying to get you to buy a new phone?
I think possibly for some of the goals that they set for the new operating system, they weren't able to effectively make that work with older generations the way they wanted to. That would be the only thing I can come up with at the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they would do that. Why not just...
I'm sorry, but I'm really laughing at this story because it's such a joke when you compare that to Windows Phone 7 and Android and the iPhone, especially because it's just like, really? This is all stuff that these users have been able to do for years and years.
Yeah,
now.
it's not like a major change in the
again,
OS, right?
They're playing catch up. It's like, when are they going to stop playing catch up and actually deliver something that consumers are going to be caring about? And this is my problem with RIM right now is that I don't think they can do anything.
Let me ask you, you have an older BlackBerry, a much older BlackBerry. What OS are you running on that?
4.5.
Okay, so you can't upgrade higher than that.
No. There's no operating system that's supported further than 4.5, which I don't really care about because you're really not getting that huge of an improvement in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe at OS 5.0, but between 4.5 and 5.0 there wasn't that huge of a leap. And then 5.0 to 6.0, I don't think there was that big of a leap either. It's all evolutionary baby steps between these operating systems. You're not seeing anything that's really revolutionary. It's just adding features that exist out there already.
I mean, Palm struggled for years because of this, right? Because of legacies, because they were kind of an enterprise OS, but not really. And before, when the iPhone came out, the best phone on the market was the Palm Trio.
No. I would argue that BlackBerry was better at the time.
Oh, okay. Let's take BlackBerry out. You're absolutely right. Let's take BlackBerry out. But at the time, other than BlackBerry, one of the top OSs was Palm OS.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And it just knocked it on its ass because it fell asleep. BlackBerry, on the other hand,
I would say that BlackBerry is in the same position as Palm right now.
They are.
When the iPhone came out.
They are, absolutely. But the only difference is they have enterprise and they're tapped into this resource where they're loyal and they'll stay, but for how long? There are a lot of employers that are going to start saying, listen, you could get an iPhone.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens.
I just keep going back and thinking, why couldn't they have done this stuff years ago? Well,
I don't know. Let's go into one more story. I want to talk about this Intel mass-producing 3D transistors for all future CPUs. Now, this is a big change in the way that chipsets are being developed. We're going to see it later this year with their Ivy Bridge CPUs, their next next generation of their systems. It's going to be a 22 nanometer Ivy Bridge CPU. It's going to be mass produced in the second half of the year, and they're planning for a 14 nanometer chipset in 2013 and a 10 nanometer, half of where we're at right now, in 2015. So you're talking about 3 years. The 3D transmitters won't be limited to cutting edge. Intel reps tell us will extend across the entire range of products, and including mobile devices. Now, this is a big deal because generally it's done in 2 dimensions when they're manufacturing these chips. Now these transistors are going to
flat to 3D.
Yeah. So the best way, it's not that I could describe it, is that it's going to almost have fins, right? The transistor.
Yeah.
So it's going to be
all
elevated.
These stories mention that it has fins, which is really interesting. Normally the transistors are on a 2D plane. And that's basically just a fancy way of saying it's flat. And what they're going to do is they're going to extend the fin up so that you can have the electrons or whatever it is, however it works, on 3 sides instead of 1 side.
By the way, just so you understand the grand scale of this, the human hair is 100,000 nanometers thick. The chipset that's coming out by the end of the second half of the year is 22 nanometers. So these are tiny, tiny transistors. I mean, it's astonishing how small they've gotten. And this is just, I guess this is the future of how they're going to start manufacturing these chipsets, because it's kind of going to be leveled on top of each other to...
Yeah, part of this is in order to support Moore's Law, where technology continually shrinks down every so often, every few years or whatever the number is. To do that, they had to have this technology, this Tri-Gate technology. 3D is actually just the marketing term for this. It's really just Tri-Gate technology, which has actually existed since 2002 when Intel made all of this stuff up and found all this out. They're just now kind of getting to this and actually producing something like this.
Yeah.
But it's really cool in the fact that they can do this and mass produce it. That's the key feature here, is that they've finally gotten to the point where they're able to mass produce this.
Yeah, and it's not something on paper.
On paper.
Yeah, it's not something on paper. It's not something that we're talking about down the line. We're saying in about a couple of months we're going to see. I believe they said it was going to come out by this summer, right? The next generation of the Intel chipset. So maybe by the end of the summer we're going to see the Ivory Bridge. So we have Sandy Bridge and Ivy Bridge.
I guess the main benefits of this is that it has, I think, like a 50% power reduction, which translates into better battery life if you have a laptop.
Yeah.
Or if you have a server, it doesn't use nearly as much power to run these servers because of the way that there's this gate that controls the flow of voltage and everything. Yeah. I don't really understand that, so if I'm making a mistake in my terminology, I apologize.
Well, they're saying it's going to be good for portable devices because it's going to be able to quickly switch over from high performance to low power consumption. So if it's also consuming less power, it's going to be cooler. So you're going to be able to make it perform better.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we really haven't seen single core chipsets go beyond 3.6 gigahertz or 3.8 gigahertz. We haven't seen it. Somebody asked me, like, how come we haven't seen like a 5 gigahertz chip? I said, well, that's because of the temperature that's required to power the power consumption for a chipset is a lot more now when you have so much, and when you have 5 gigahertz in there, you have to power it more, and it's going to heat up more. It's going to run more. It doesn't really work.
Had taken a screenshot of that video that from that one guy. I think it was Mike Bohr or something like that, talking about how it all works. Because they actually had a good visualization of the difference between the 2D planar transistors that they're currently using today and the new 3D Tri-Gate transistors. It's hard to understand until you actually look and see visuals of the difference between the two.
Yeah. Now, I know we've said this a couple times. What the hell does AMD do at this point? Because AMD is really... And for years I've been a loyal AMD user. For years I've been loyal. They don't, it's night and day. It really is. It's so difficult. And every one of my machines is now a 6-core AMD. No, I believe 2 are quad cores and 2 are, and 3 are 6 cores in the studio. I still can't compare it to an i7.
Yeah.
There's no comparison.
Let me say this: AMD did make a good buy with ATI because ATI, the graphics manufacturer, that's the equivalent of NVIDIA.
They've been talking about selling it off.
Really?
Yeah, they don't.
That's weird because ATI has actually been doing fairly well, I thought.
Well, the problem is AMD is not doing well.
Yeah.
So they have to, create some sort of cash flow somewhere. AMD, and this is going to suck to say it, I think AMD's future relies on mobile computing because they're really doing that integrated GPU and CPU. Mm-hmm. I think that's where they might flourish because they do have a chip.
The game is having as much processing power as you can get without affect.
Oh, hang on. There you
to
go.
Where
hold on, Suncast. You want to say that again because you just chopped up a little bit.
What I was saying is that what it comes down to is how much power can you pack into a chip without hurting the performance and the power too much, the power consumption. Because that's what it all relies on is how much power can you get out of a chip in terms of speed and efficiency. Because you don't want something that's going to just suck and drain the power out of your gadget, your device that you're using.
Sure, yeah.
Especially in like smartphones and laptops.
Well, you look at how good
here.
That's the main reason why the iPad has been so dominant in this tablet market, right? Because of its battery life, because of the power consumption. I haven't charged this iPad for about 3 days.
Yeah, and
I'm at 82%.
It's battery life.
I'm at 82% with this device, and when you're talking about a laptop's battery life, I can't. It's horrible. The battery technology on these laptops have been really bad for many years. And the more power they're going to consume, because they consume a lot more power than an iPad. But when you're looking at this, the more power you're going to consume, the more battery life it's going to require. So how do you change that with something like this? This is really interesting. We always talk about battery technology improving, but we have to also consider the chipset technology also improving, so kind of it coexists with the battery life.
Yeah, what this actually does, this adds another win to the column for Intel in terms of supporting mobile devices with Intel chipsets.
Yeah, because they really have to start competing with ARM. Considering ARM was Intel, right? ARM technology.
I don't know the history there between them. So
and don't quote me on this. I read a while ago. The ARM technology is a discontinued Intel technology. So, Intel really. I think that this panic started when Microsoft said they're going to start supporting ARM systems with the next generation of Windows. So now that opens up an entire market for ARM chipsets.
Yeah.
And this is their way of computing. I think this is great. I most probably will buy this now. I'm looking for a reason to go with Intel. I haven't bought the Sandy Bridge because I'm still waiting for something. If I'm going to get it, I want to see a huge boost in technology. And I'll probably end up buying this next chipset, so I'll be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how these chipsets actually perform in real-world situations. We'll have to wait and see what the benchmarks say about it.
Yeah. So we've been talking about it now before we go into our picks. I've been talking about Blog World a lot, and for the viewers that exclusively listen to this, we are going to be broadcasting live from Blog World May 24th to the 26th in New York City at the Javits Center. Blog World is the largest new media expo, Blog World New Media Expo, but they handle blogs, internet broadcasting, internet personalities, marketing yourself on the internet. So it's an unbelievable conference that they do. If you are in this field, you want to get into this field, this is the conference to attend. It's Blog World and New Media Expo 2011. They have two this year. They have one here at the Javits Center for all you East Coasters. And if you're on the West Coast in November, they're going to be there as well, I believe in LA. You could get tickets. There's 2 tickets. If you want to get the conferences and check it out and listen to the seminars, you get a 20% off the sale if you use promo code GFQ20. If you want to walk the floor, this is a great deal. It's GFQ50 to walk the floor and come say hello to us because we're going to be broadcasting there. Suncast is going to be flying in. A few other people are going to be coming in too. Little surprises I'll be announcing next couple of weeks. But I'm really excited to be able to pull this off. This is going to be our... Well, we do live production every week from a remote location.
Did you say GFQ50 or GQ50?
GFQ50.
Isn't it GQ50?
No, I believe it's GFQ50. You have a different one there?
I have a different one in the email that you sent me.
Did I write it or they wrote it?
Whatever they wrote.
But they might have given you a typo.
So
yeah, GFQ20 for
there's
GFQ20 and GFQ50.
There's GQ50, I thought.
I believe that was a typo in their email. I'm really excited to do this. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people are going to stop by. We're going to be broadcasting for 2 days. I'm going to be doing a ton of interviews with a lot of the vendors, a lot of the speakers there. I believe next week the owner of Blog World will be coming on the show on Wednesday. I'm going to be interviewing him, talking to him about it, and a few other people. It's blog. You can go to blogworld.com, get the tickets, check it out, come say hello to us, and all that good stuff. And of course, Suncast, it is that time at the end of the show where we do our picks of the week. On come on, there we go, there we go. I really am matching this wall.
I can't see you anymore.
Yeah, I know. Invisible. All right. You want to go first, Suncast?
Oh, come on. Everybody would want to be visible.
Yeah. You go first.
All right. So my pick this week is Gladiator Cloud Desktop.
Say that again. Gladiator Cloud Desktop?
No. Gladiator Cloud Desktop.
Gladiator.
Gladiator Cloud Desktop is really cool because you know how you have all these cloud storage solutions now like Amazon S3 and Box.net? But the problem with those these cloud storage solutions is that it's not really easy to access them from like Windows Explorer or your desktop. And that's what this application does. It helps you map your cloud storage from like Amazon or Box.net to your computer so that you can easily access your files.
Oh, wow.
One of the cool things about this is that it supports so many different services. And it's really cool because they just added support for Amazon Cloud Drive, which is their newest consumer-grade storage solution. It has Amazon S3. It has AT&T Synaptic Storage, Box.net, Castore Storage, Dunkel, a whole bunch of other things. You can even do Google Docs with this. So if you're a big Google Docs user, you can map your Google Docs to your desktop, which is really cool. It's very simple. It's free. There's not even a whole lot of setup to it. You just basically select who your storage provider is, pick a name for it, a couple of other options. You click next, finish, and that's about all there is to set up. There's a little bit of a limit between what you can do with the free version and the pro version. The pro version removes some of the limits. I guess it's like you can do only 1,000 file names per task or something like that. It's kind of confusing because I don't really understand the terminology between tasks and files and everything like that they're talking about. But if you want the pro version, it's a little bit more money, but the free version will work probably just fine for you. If you're not a heavy storage user, it'll work just fine. But it's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty cool because my biggest problem is, especially with FTPing, I kind of want, one solution for everything.
Yeah, and the website for this, I believe, is gladinet.com. That's GLADINET.com.
I actually have the website pulled up here. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. All right, that's excellent. My pick is a little different. I've been helping Spencer out with his video for the last week or so, and I came across CamTwist. We use VidBlaster here at the network, but if you are, you want to start off small and you don't want to spend the money, you could go with something called CamTwist. I believe there's a couple other solutions. I'm on the Mac right now. Can you check if it's Windows also?
No, it's not.
It's Mac only. Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's Mac only.
Yeah, so somebody else told me that it's not. So pretty much here, I'll pull it up here. It's a very simple layout. You have all these different effects. You have your input, so you could do desktop, you could do webcam, you could do slideshow, movie, Flickr. So let's do webcam. So let's preview the webcam here. So you could see me here. I was playing around with the settings, and you could do widescreen as well. So you could do 16:9, you could do 4:3, you could change the resolution. So here it is. I'm doing the show, and then let's say I want to add bubbles. You're going to see bubbles fly up. There you go. Little bubbles. You could do, there's a whole bunch of effects. I mean, it's actually really cool the amount of effects that they have for this. You could just play around with it. You could even add IRC. So you could have IRC scrolling on the bottom or on the side. You could just constantly say it, change it. You could use it with all the main streaming ones, Ustream, Stickam, Justin TV, or even Skype. You could integrate it with Skype, so Skype works with it. Just if you are using it with Skype, make sure you read the tutorial on how to set it up on their website with Skype. It's CamTwist. You could check it out. The website is a little weird because it's not like camtwist.com. The website is allocininit.com. So that's the website. We'll have a link on our website at gfqlive.tv, at guysfromqueens.com, I should say, showing where you could go for this and get it. But I'm surprised. I hate these softwares, these, extra add-on camera softwares. I've had nothing but a bad time with them, and this is actually pretty good. So I was quite surprised with the software and the ability of the software, and that's CamTwist. You should check it out. That's about it for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. You could go to our website, gfqlive.tv. You can watch live all the time. That's so funny. Spencer's messaging me right now as I was talking about him. You go to gfqlive.tv, or you could check out the podcast at guysfromqueens.com or gfqnetwork.com. And you can subscribe to all of them. We're on iTunes. We're on the Zoom. We're pretty much everywhere you could imagine. And that wraps it up for today. For me and Suncast, we wish you a great evening, a wonderful afternoon, and goodbye.